is Ready, Set, Reiki, a podcast about Reiki and energy work, from the curious beginner to the seasoned master teacher, welcoming all systems, all lineages, and all levels. Reiki is a journey and not a destination. And on this Ready, Set, Reiki journey, I refer to myself as a guide rather than host, as I too am traveling, supporting others, and learning on this Reiki journey as well. And with that said, I'm Tracy C. Wright. So today, what an honor it is. She is taking Instagram by storm here. Her name is Karin Karin C. Klein. And she is a trauma-informed body therapist and energy worker who's shaking up traditional New Age frameworks with her systematic approach to energy work. Now, as a German engineer's daughter, she brings precision and directness to energy healing. After discovering that her Reiki attunement had blocked her in natural psychic abilities, she made it her mission to work with the human energy field, and it's all 18 dimensions. Now she's known for her bloody, blunt German style. She challenges New Age myths, asserting that energy reading is a natural human capacity and really not a special gift. Drawing on 20 years of experience as a somatic trauma and prenatal body therapist, she produces immediate, tangible results through precise healing and techniques. Her comprehensive energy perception program teaches practitioners and newcomers how to expand their natural intuitive abilities using systematic reproductive protocols. Based in Germany, she works with clients worldwide and online sessions. Welcome to Ready, Set, Reiki.
Thank you so very much. Thank you so very much.
All right, well, let's begin this journey together. So yes. I was on Instagram one day and I came across you and I'm like, what is happening? What is unfolding here? You had a whole different perspective of looking at through the lens of Reiki. And although it was different from my experience, it was very unique and you had my attention. Now, I've had the honor of interviewing many practitioners and teachers on here, all, singing the praises of Reiki. However, I paused and thought, wait a minute, maybe this is just not a one size fits all, right? Maybe there's something more to this. You look at something like, let's say, for example, penicillin, right? Penicillin, treats, these mild to threatening, life-threatening things if you have a reaction to it. And even though it is a commonly used broad spectrum antibiotic globally, not everyone has a positive reaction to penicillin. Right? So maybe this is the same way with Reiki. It's just an individual case by case. So let's begin this journey together. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Yeah, I guess you came across my my reel where I said why I don't use Reiki anymore.
Correct.
And I gave 3 reasons, and I think we're going to talk about that. Yeah. So yeah, I'm German, so please bear with me with my weird accent sometimes. English is not my second language either. It's my third language because I grew up in France, and I did spend some time in Morocco as well in my early 20s. So I could say that my spiritual journey began in my 30s.
Okay.
Because I am not one of those people who can say that as a child, I always knew that, etc. Indeed, as a child, I was terribly afraid of the dark. And even in my late 30s, I still was, because I did not know what was happening to me, because I sensed energy without having an explanation for what I was sensing. So yeah, my spiritual journey began in my 30s, I could say, with my beloved aunt, who's German as well, but who's been living in the UK for over 50 years. Beautiful. She lives in Glastonbury. So many of you know Glastonbury from the festival.
Yes.
But maybe you know that Glastonbury is also a very spiritual city or town, because there are, the legend says it's Avalon. So it's the way to go to the land of the dead from the legend of King Arthur. And there are the Michael and Mary ley lines. So it's really, really very, very spiritual. And just nearby in Wiltshire, there were always these crop circles we went visiting in the summer. And there's the crop circle conference and the goddess festival and all these things. So this is how I started my journey, by having a good overview of all the things that are woo-woo and spooky and funny and magical and all these things.
Beautiful. So we're here to talk about Reiki. When did Reiki come into your life?
2006, when I was starting my body therapy training. So my very first massage workshop I took with the teacher that I had later on for my body therapy training. And at the end of the workshop, he asked me which level of Reiki I have. And I was so happy that I even knew what Reiki was, because my roommate, one that just moved in my flat in Cologne, she asked me just 1 week earlier if I knew about somebody who gives attunements in Reiki, because she wanted to have the Reiki level 3. So I had never heard of Reiki before, but then, so he asked me, this massage and body therapy trainer asked me which level I have, with well, he said, I'm asking you because of the way you touch people. And this wasn't the first time that I've been asked what energy work I was doing. And I did not do any energy work at that time.
Sure.
But yeah, that's how Reiki came into my life.
Beautiful. And did you continue to practice with it?
No, I never practice with clients, to be honest. I practice with people who helped me while I was doing the body therapy training. So I had these friends and family on whom I could experiment what I was just learning and do the things, and like human guinea pigs, you would say. But I never worked with real clients, because I never felt like it's a good thing for me to do. Okay. So when I got the first attunement, everything was still fine. I was working on myself. I was working on others, so friends and family. But when I got the attunement from level 2, I stopped completely, because I did not feel like this is still a good thing for me to do.
Okay. So you were able to get the symbols, and it just didn't resonate with you?
Not at all.
Not
at all.
Okay.
And it's only later. So I did not do any energy healing work for 6 years. And only later, when I learned the modality that I'm using now, I learned that this attunement sets an energy block in the aura.
Interesting.
And so I had a lot of discussion on Instagram about that, but I had not as much as I thought I would have.
Sure.
Because it resonated with so many people.
Right.
So the thing is with this energy block is, it is created with any attunement and any initiation you get, not only with Reiki. So any initiation you would get for whatever modality, whatever ceremony, attunement ceremony you would have, you would get such an energy block. And it's even created when you sign a contract or when you make a promise.
Sure. Yes.
Because it lies in the nature of those things that it binds you to the other party. It's meant to be that way.
Right.
So it's not a bad thing in per se. So I never thought that Reiki per se is a bad energy or whatever, not to work with or something. It's just that this attunement sets this energy block. And I had so many people on Instagram confirming or being happy that I just confirmed what they were feeling all along.
Sure.
So what happens with this energy block is it draws on your own life force, on your own auric field, and makes you pay energetic royalty towards your master, towards the lineage. And yeah, well, that's
Yeah, and we had discussed that. I had asked a question. And you'll find, as you search, there's many different systems of Reiki out there.
Yes.
And some who become masters and decide, you know what, I want to create a system where I'm not using symbols or doing this and this and that. And Holy Fire 3 with William Rand and the International Center of Reiki, you're not touching. That's not part, and they call it a placement, where the placement is placed into your spirit versus your soul. And I had asked question, what happens when there's no teacher, that physically touches the student? And the reason why is that you can unintentionally lower that quality of energy by touching the student. And you had kind answered it with what you just said, that it could extend on to say, like, you're buying a home with a contract, or
Yes.
maybe baptism and things like that. And that's what made me ponder. This is quite interesting, because you look at it as universal energy life force. It should be one size fits all. But maybe there are these cases, as you were seeing, as people were sharing with you, it just doesn't feel right. So I go into like the Goldilocks and the Three Bears story with finding you're just right. So maybe you had that experience. And then my experience was that it came in and it was almost like the abyssal cleaner that cleaned everything out. And I soared in my abilities, but yours, it blocked it, which is quite interesting, you know.
But it was absolutely, I totally agree that everyone should take everything that everyone says in the spiritual industry with a grain of salt.
Absolutely.
Always trust your body. Your body will tell you if it's right for you or not.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
This is what I'm telling in all my free masterclasses as well. Never trust my word.
Absolutely.
Trust your own body if my word resonates with you.
Right. And I mean, you had said, writing the contract to a master, coming from the lineage. So I have 11 different systems I have studied. And my first one was Uzui Rahiho. And so honoring that lineage and trying to do things within that structure of it. And as a master teacher, it's my obligation to the student to give them this information, but in a way that says, listen, here it is. It's like a buffet. Pick what you want from it, what resonates with you. If it doesn't feel right, don't do that. And of course, telling students, please, research yourself, look things up, right? I mean, these things are being passed down from teacher to teacher. And when I was studying the other systems, I was not finding that the information was accurate until I came to The Healing Touch by William Lee Rand. And that was this evidence base. He was backing things up. Okay, here's the source of this. And it was the first time I had read that there was, Reiki prior to Uzui Sensei. I'm like, whoa, some people believe it's been around since the beginning of time, but he gets the credit for all of this. And then having to go back and reteach and say, listen, there's someone who published a book in 1919, and here's some other things. So with this, be open that things may be mistranslated, right? And we may not really know. So going to, what feels just right.
Yeah, I absolutely believe that Reiki has been around all the time because it's universal energy, and we all can tap into that.
Yeah,
and Reiki is not the only universal energy we can tap into.
Sure,
and we can use. So, in my opinion and my experience, it's just there, and you can have it, you can use it if you want to.
Yeah.
But of course, it does make sense to have a training, to be taught how to use the tool, because it is a very powerful tool.
Yes.
So you need a training.
Yes.
But you don't need any attunement, in my experience.
Yes. Yeah. That may work for some people. Yeah. I mean, there's some that love the ceremonial, doing the pillars. They like all of that, the invocation, and it really comes down to that person. I have interviewed individuals who belong to the Reiki Alliance, and they do it very traditional to Madame Takata. Like, that's one way. There's no tuning forks or sound bowls or anything. It is the simplicity of the Reiki, where others say, oh, bring this in, you can do that in. And so it's just so uniquely different. When I went to Uzui Rahiho, it just wasn't doing it for me. And I went on to Holy Fire, then I went on to Animal, then I went on to Crystal. And I kept feeling like I needed a little bit more with that. So it's just a matter of finding it. And some people will try it and like, you know what? I don't get it. I don't resonate it. Like, I don't like black licorice. That's not for me. Right. No matter how much black licorice. No, thank you. So that's okay.
Yeah. So I had so many people come to me after my initial Instagram post, who told me like, okay, I'm going to have Reiki Attunement 3 in 3 months. Can you clear the blocks for Reiki Attunement 1 and 2?
Yeah.
And I totally support when you want to have another attunement, if you want to go further, because, as I said, it's not about not buying a house, not signing the contract to buy a car, not to make a promise to yourself or others, but know that this does set an energy block, and that you can clear that energy block, maybe even with Reiki. So just do the thing, live your life accordingly. You just said some people like the ceremony, etc. So it's wonderful. Let's do it. Go ahead.
Yeah.
But clear the energy block.
Yeah. Very good. So you're out, you're learning from so many people, just, sharing your story and your experience. You have a floodgate of people coming in and sharing this. What are you finding as misconceptions about Reiki?
Well, as I just said, that you need an attunement. That's for me, that's the first misconception. You do not need that because it's universal energy. Everybody can tap into it. But another misconception maybe would be that you do need Reiki to do energy work at all.
Yeah.
Because for many newcomers, Reiki is a stepping stone, is a start.
Yeah.
And it's totally fine. That's okay. But there could be so many more different stepping stones as well. So Reiki is not the only entry point into energy work or energy healing.
Right. It just might be a step or like a little on the ladder going up to it. Because there's some that start it and it may open something up and they may go into light language or something else. But in your case, it blocked it, correct? Like you just had the psychic ability and it shut it down?
Well, to be honest, I'm not really sure that it shut it down completely, or even if it was me shutting it down because I did not feel well with that energy block.
Sure.
Because every time I was giving Reiki, I was using it on me or friends and family. I felt like something is off. And afterwards, now that I know of this energy block, I understand what was happening. It was really siphoning my energy towards my master. And she's a lovely person. I really love her. So it's not that she's a bad person or she doesn't even know about that.
Of course.
And that's also a point. Many teachers even don't know about this.
Yeah.
So they're not bad people or doing this. Even if I call Reiki a pyramid scheme,
right,
it doesn't mean that people are bad and that they're doing this in order to harm you.
Sure.
So, but in my case, I really felt like, no, I don't want to touch that topic at all because I don't know how to handle this one thing that I don't feel comfortable with.
Sure.
So I needed training. I needed to be taught some things in order to develop my own modality and how I work with it.
Sure. And those are all pieces of the puzzle that helped you create this. Now, in my journey, it had cleared so much. I had known about Reiki for many years. My very best friend was just an advocate for it. She's like, you got to try Reiki. And I saw it in 2006. I'm like, I don't think that's for me. I don't get it. And it came to my sister passing that was the catalyst for change. There needed to be something. So for me, because of her death, it caused a lot of roadblocks, and Reiki was something that shifted it and cleared it. And because I have, I guess I would color myself an empath, I just imagine the highest light from the highest heaven coming down as a tube. So like when you go through a bank drive-through, they have the little tubes that bring the things to put money in. So that's what I imagine coming through the crown of my head to my heart, through my hands, through my home chakras. And so it's just this pure sense of energy coming through. And if I feel tired or fatigued, then that's letting my body know that some of my energy as that empath is trying to come and say, I'm not seeing anything happen with the client. Is this working? And my ego coming in, then I start going and I have to pause and back off and either pray or ask Archangel Michael or something for guidance and just step back and let the Reiki go. So that's how I kind of block it from kind of pulling from other sources. So that's kind of how I was taught to do it. But again, there's many ways to be taught how to do it. Right. So that's take on how I do that through that, where I'm trying not to contaminate it.
Yeah, that's also a point. I was taught the energy flows where it's needed. Absolutely. And I'm just a channel for it.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons I gave in this reel that I posted, that I might ruffle some feathers here because this might sound presumptuous, but I feel that I can be so much more for my clients than just a channel for the energy.
Sure.
And this ties a little bit in this new age myth that I am debunking as well, the transcending the ego thing.
Yes.
It's harmful advice. We could talk about that for hours. If you want me to talk a bit more about that, I'm happy to. But this is really we need, especially as energy healers, we need to have an ego. We need to have a sense of self, which is ego. Ego is I am, and I need to know who I am in order to help people. Otherwise, I'm too much, as you described very well, you're too much in their energy.
Yeah.
You're too much in this people pleasing. Am I doing this right? Am I clearing their blocks? Am I really helping them? Imposter syndrome comes in, and all these things. And this doesn't happen if you have a healthy sense of self, so a healthy ego.
Right.
So after clearing, imposter syndrome, my second name for years, right? But I cleared that. I understood what was happening there. And once I stood in my own strength and power, I could say, no, I am more. Because as an energy healer, I'm not only seeing energy and clearing energy blocks. I come with 20 years of experience in somatic trauma therapy.
Sure.
I come with more than 12 years of experience in prenatal psychology. I know you give yoga classes for pregnant women, right? So I love that when I saw that, because working with pregnant women is such beautiful work, and understanding that the baby from the very beginning, from conception, has a consciousness. So this is where energy and prenatal psychology intertwine, come together. And also I see that in my energy work, oftentimes I have clients who are telling me something about past lives, parallel lives, whatever, but rarely have they had an energy session with somebody who was talking about the prenatal imprints. Neither energetic, nor psychological, nor emotional ones, because this time, and this, I blame it on Freud, because this time between, terrible, because the time between birth and conception is rarely considered at all.
Right. It's
not considered in psychology, and it's not considered in spirituality. But yet it's so important, and we learn so much in that time. It's amazing.
Yeah. And Holy Fire Reiki, it looks at it as your culturally created self. You know, you're born, you're instantly assigned a sex, right? A religion, parents, things like that. And then all those things that are kind of poured into you, whether intentionally or unintentionally, you know, that forms your basis on, you know, how are you with money, right? How are you with relationships? Yeah. So that's quite interesting. Yeah. So you have the pieces of the puzzle here. You know, you gave Reiki a try. You just found it was just not your right. Come along to the energy perception program. Why did you create this?
Okay. Why did I create this the way I did? Because I strongly believe that energy perception, working with energy, doing energy healing is not a gift.
Very good.
We all have that. If you're a human being, you have the ability to sense energy and to work with it. So what I set myself up for a mission is to teach as many people as possible to work with this, because I believe that this is the thing. Of course, body therapy is important, and psychotherapy is important, and sleep hygiene is important, and a good diet is important. But you can accelerate and enhance all these other modalities with energy work. Because as long as there are these energy blocks in your aura, certain things will not change. So I believe that it's just a human gift, not a personal gift, a human gift, to use this perception ability of reading energy. And and I want to invite newcomers, and I want to invite anybody who is still suffering from imposter syndrome, because with this spiritual industry we have, especially on social media, we all talk a lot about I am gifted, she is gifted, she has such a beautiful talent. He has come to realize the gift he had, but we all have it. And I want people to know that. So what I'm teaching people is really to enhance their perception of energy. And to discover their own perception channel. So myself, I'm a Virgo. I have plenty of planets in Virgo, and I'm a body therapist. I'm very embodied, and this is quite important to me. So my personal first channel, my first, let's call it my first radio channel to perceive energy, is through my body. So when I learned about all these energy blocks, the different energy blocks that there are, I felt them in my body. I felt that the yin block, these are very basic ones, yin blocks and yang blocks. These are the first basic blocks that you can have. A yin block felt like, so when the yin energy is blocked, you have too much of the cosmos energy. I felt like, oh, I'm so dizzy in my head. And the yang block, when you have too much earth energy and the yang energy, the cosmos energy is blocked, I felt like, oh, I'm nauseous. I'm so heavy in my body. So I knew through the sensations of my body which block I was considering.
Right.
But then, German engineer's daughter, I was like, that takes so much time. It is so long. And also it's bringing myself so much into it. And as you just said, it's very important to step back always, right?
Yes.
So I decided to teach myself to tune in into another channel. So the way I am personally perceiving energy now is through knowing, like words and sentences.
Yes.
I am getting, or I am hearing, or I am reading before my mind's eye. Sometimes there are images, but images is not my first way of thinking. You know that there are 3 ways of thinking for people, right?
Yeah.
Visualizing things, words, and systems. So many neurodivergent people think in systems.
Sure. Yeah.
When you say the word church, a neurodivergent person will see the building, and they will see the priest, and they will see the bishop, and they will see the cross, and all these different things, right? They will think of everything in the system of church. Somebody who's visual will see the building maybe. And I myself am thinking in words. So when you say church, before my mind's eye, I see the word written down. So this is a channel of perceiving energy that comes easy to me. And in my training, I teach everybody to recognize their own primary channel and switch to another if they want to.
Right. Beautiful.
I had a friend of mine who's perceiving energy with images of animals. And the way she understands animals. So interestingly enough, our way of perceiving energy is very dependent also on the energy that we're reading. The aura of the client will tell me the things that I need to know, and that she knows that I will understand.
Beautiful.
So, yeah.
That resonates so much with me because I've used that as examples of dialing into a radio, right?
Oh, cool.
I understand what you're saying, the different types of learning. And yeah, you can tell you're a Virgo. I'm married to a Virgo.
Well,
what a blessing, because it balances out. So it's meticulous and I'm more spontaneous. So that's beautiful that you're able to put it in that way for people. And it's so interesting. Many students come in and they hear that you have to feel it through the palms of the hands in order for it to work, which is a misconception. If you're someone who's empathic, you're going to feel it in other places. And so the ego is saying it's not working and they need that confirmation. And so when you go into different websites, you'll see lots of reviews like, hey, I'm this great, whatever. And so you'll have this testimony, and you need that validation. So it's interesting with that imposter syndrome, that still kind of hangs in the back, as a shadow on many workers, light workers, yes, and energy workers, that they need that validation for it. And many of the teachers that I have gone to, it's just having that feeling or knowing or seeing their picture and sensing it with them. And I agree too that everybody has this in them. And if you have gotten the attunement or placement and it works for you, that's for life. I mean, don't get caught up into somebody bringing you through the door and being like, oh, we're going to have to do it all over again. You were taught wrong, so it is within you if you just continue to use it. And it just goes back to if that's you're just right. And if it isn't, what can you do to find out how to fix that? Yeah, because it's coming out more and more. I mean, originally, Reiki is not to do any harm. That's the intention that's supposed to be out there. But we have all these different practitioners out there. And, some of them will go online and they'll buy a $9.99 online course, take it, finish it in 3 hours, and then they're out there running a Reiki business and not learning that this is energy work. This can get serious. I mean, you can run into some dark things here. So you need to work with a physical person, and it doesn't have to be in person, but like you and we are connecting to have somebody guide you through this with things, because I mean, in my experience, I've come across some extraordinary things, and it's like, oh my goodness. And if I had not gone and taken all the trainings and did an apprenticeship, I'm not sure I would have been able to handle it. And it's the knowledge as well of like, okay, this is just getting to the point now, it's out of my expertise. I'm going to refer you to someone else. Putting that ego aside, what's best for the client.
That is so important. That is so important to know, to have this very strong stance of, I know what I can do. I know what is my strength and what is my ability and my capabilities, and then refer to somebody else if it's not working.
Right.
You just said sometimes energy work can be dark. Yes, it can. I made this experience in only a few years ago, because I was never on the side of energy is just love and light.
Sure.
But I always thought, and my experience was, if you encounter something difficult, an entity that might have another agenda that is contrarian to yours, you can ask them to leave. And for a long time that worked. Yeah. And then I got an entity attachment. And I wasn't aware, because I wasn't even thinking that was possible. Wow. And it's wreaked havoc for 2.5 years.
Oh my goodness! Wow.
Until I finally discovered, with the help of a friend, I finally discovered this. Well, it looked like a shadow in my cellar. So with that information, I went to see my supervisor, which I'm seeing regularly, and I've seen her quite a few times, because I really see her at least once in the 3 months. But every session we had was on different things, so she never saw that entity either.
Right.
So this information, have a look at my energetic cellar, whatever that means. There is a shadow there, and then she could see that entity, and it was a demonic attachment that I got from my boyfriend at that time, and he got it from a recent visit he had made to somebody in Hong Kong. So, and not to say that's I'm not aiming to be racist.
Of course, you can get it anywhere. Yeah.
So there are anywhere, but the culture there is much more aware of the existence of demons.
Yes.
So I understood that's why this entity could attach to him and then attach to me. But it's really, it took me 2.5 years to realize that.
Yeah. It's something else. It's kind of like when you pull clothes out of the dryer, right? And they have a sock or something attached to it. You don't realize it until it starts, oh, you have this. Well, this is embarrassing.
Well, the sock attached to the jumper is just embarrassing, but the entity attached to your aura.
Yeah, yeah, people don't realize that this
Mhm.
energetic hygiene is super important with
Yeah.
this. They just come in and they're so eager, like, I want to do this, I want to help other people, I want to serve, but you got to work on yourself too with that.
And believe me, I did. It was, well, I have been working with energy for 8 years when that happened. I was doing an oral hygiene, etc., and it still
Yeah,
happened.
so happens. Yeah.
And when I was talking about it on Instagram, I got many comments that said, "Well, that happened to you because you believe in it." No,
Yeah. Yeah.
especially not. If I had believed in it, I would have noticed much earlier.
Right, right. I had someone that said that, well, if you practice your Reiki every day, you wouldn't have these things. And I'm like, well, if I have car insurance, but it doesn't
Yeah,
always stop someone from hitting my car, right? I mean, it's
I
just,
love that example.
what am I going to do, right? I mean, I
Mhm.
wake up with the intention that I'm surrounded in a white light through the love of God. I mean, and things come. They're like, oh, she looks bright and shiny. I'd like to come home with her. I don't.
Right. Tell me, Tracy, because what I was taught to use Reiki to put myself in a protective bubble when I was channeling the energy and to give it to somebody else. And is that taught in every tradition that you know of?
Not necessarily always. In Azui, the Rahiho in my lineage, in Holy Fire, we do grounding, things like that. We honor the three pillars, the Gashiho, the Rajiho, bring in Biosin scanning, Chiriho, and let the Holy Fire. The Holy Fire is really, it doesn't have any religion attached to it or dogma, but through the light of God. And that's that holy fire that comes in to purify, divine compassion, divine grace. So that for me, I could really feel it. And also I grew up in a very religious household, and my mother just felt like, well, that's not of God. And so holy fire, I could color it that way for myself. Like, oh, I can thank God, Jesus, Holy Spirit, Mary, things like that. But using that protective bubble, also like doing like the cleansing, things like that. The dry bathing was very important as well with that. And then in Holy Fire, when you become a master, there is a spirit release that you do. And what I love about that is it sends the low density energy to the third heaven. So it breaks it up into different heavens. Like we're in heaven number 1, where it's the yin and yang that you talked about, right? Darkness and light. That level 2 heaven is where the low density energies reside. That third one is where the light of God is, where you take, the ego aside, things like that. You allow the energy to take it, but then you turn around and you do a second part where you heal, you send energy to the part of you that allowed that to attach. So you're not putting a Band-Aid on it and sending it away. We're getting down to the root issue. So for instance, like when I lost my sister, the solar plexus was affected. I lost my confidence. I couldn't teach. I couldn't do these things. And I was stumbling over my words for yoga and couldn't get the courage to put these classes together. And so that low density energy could attach to that because I'm grieving, right? So I would work on healing that part of it. So that's one way of doing it. But majority of them, there's some type of technique where you do need to do some type of clearing, crystal Reiki, you bring in the selenite, things like that. So different techniques, but it just goes with what resonates with you. Yeah. And I've taught people who learn different styles and learn different things. And they're like, oh, we did it this way. Well, if that works for you, that's okay. Do it. Give you that freedom.
Yeah.
So when you need that energetic tune-up, so what are some qualities that you look for? And you have your energy perception program. What are some qualities you try to instill in your students in being an energy worker?
Okay, so when I need an energetic tune-up, I'm very, very picky.
Very good. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Your visitor, I would say so, right?
So I don't care about what they say their gifts are. I would even rather avoid people who have a list of certifications, training, etc. on their website.
Yeah.
I would ask them if they know. Well, I would try to find out how grounded they are. And one way of doing this is by asking them, do you know what the cost of the butter right now?
Yeah.
When you go to the supermarket, how much is the butter right now?
Right.
So yeah, so this is one way for me to test how grounded are they, how because I don't want anybody who's too much up here, because that won't help me.
Right.
I strongly believe that our soul's purpose is to make human experiences.
Absolutely. We're here to learn.
The soul decided, well, let's have a human life, because a human life is beautiful in its restriction, because we are in this body. So being in this body is very restrictive. It's very hard to do. We would like to expand more, but no, we are limited by our height, our weight, what we think of that. The body gets ill, the body gets tired, etc. So, but this is a way for the soul to have a wonderful multitude of different experiences. So I strongly believe that energy work should always be very grounded. You said it before, the grounding exercises, but not only when I practice, all the time in my life. I need to be grounded. I need to be here in this earthly body. Wonderful. And I need to accept that this is where I am, and this is what my soul wants right now.
Right. Beautiful.
So,
right.
Yeah, so this is also what I would teach my students. Don't go up there. It's seductive to go up there when you start your journey, right?
Yeah.
Because you felt the limitations of your body already. You felt the limitations of psychotherapy, maybe of different healing methods with the body. So you want to go up there.
Yeah.
So you want to read the Akashic records, and you want to know your soul's purpose.
Right.
And that's so attractive to do that. I totally get it, because I did it too.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Sure.
So it's good to visit, but don't dwell.
Exactly.
Very good.
Right. Because reading the Akashic records, it's just information that gets you nowhere, in my opinion. You need to read the personal aura, because there you will get the information and the solution.
Very good. And anybody wondering, in El Paso, Texas, the butter is $3.96.
Okay. Very good.
I just bought some the other day.
Well, look at you. You would be a good fit for me.
It is, and I passed the test.
Excellent.
What advice would you give someone who is just entering this spiritual work? They got the calling, they're listening, what I'm saying resonates, or what you're saying resonates, and they just have this inner calling that this is for me. This is my just right. I'm ready to move on this path. What wisdom do you have to drop on our wonderful listeners?
Well, I don't know if it's wisdom or not. I would say trust your body. Trust your body. Even if you're interested in going up there and doing the spiritual stuff, your body still will be the best indicator of, does it feel good to me? Is it my way of doing things? Do I feel safe in that space? That's in my opinion the most important thing.
Right. And people usually tend to take that little intuition and place it off to the side. But it's like when you walk into somewhere and you get that spooky feeling or that uneasy feeling, right? That's that working in you, and start paying attention to it. I mean, I used to go back and forth like a dance between this, like, oh, and then I wouldn't listen. I'm like, oh, I should have listened. My goodness. So I'm paying more attention about it. And like, okay, you know what? This has been more wrong than right. Maybe something's going on here, but we all have that kind of inner wisdom, inner compass, the inner the inner guru, that's so important to listen. I mean, it's easy for me to say something or you to say something, but if it doesn't feel right in your body, and I say this with yoga class, listen, I take these classes, I study, I watch videos, I create a sequence, but if this doesn't feel right in your body, then don't do it. No, there's another way. I remember having, I think, the flu a couple years ago. We have these little clinics here called Med Express, and they're like, hey, do you want to get this shot? It'll make you feel better. It'll get everything you need. And I'm like, okay. And the nurse came in, put the shot in my arm, and it felt like fire. I mean, fire through my veins. I'm like, this is hot. And she was like, oh my goodness. So she ran into the other room and asked the doctor. And of course, nonchalant, he's like, yeah, that's a real rare side effect. But and it's going to affect everybody differently. And they might have given that shot to dozens of people, but I got the one where like, whoa, this is like, I don't like this. So listen to your body. That's going to tell you. If you live long enough, it's going to teach you how to live.
Exactly. Oh, that's a wonderful quotation there. Yes. So as a body therapist, I've been working with so many people who come with attachment issues, relationship issues, etc. And in the end, they all tell me, I knew it in the very beginning.
Yeah.
Yes, you did.
Yeah,
you knew it in the very beginning. So relationships is a wonderful example, because we all have relationships. We all have relationships that did not work out. Yeah. And we all have these reference points in our biography that we can say, yes, I knew it.
Yeah.
And then I went over it because I thought this and this and this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It happened to me too.
Teachable moments, right? So what books do you recommend?
Excuse me?
What books do you recommend?
Oh, what books do I recommend? I personally loved Stepping into the Magic by Jill Edwards.
Oh, beautiful.
Do you know her? She was a clinical psychologist living in the UK. She died in 2011, I think. And I really loved. I read that book. I was in Thailand on holidays, and in the hotel. Well, it wasn't a hotel. This bungalow thing where I was. There was this leave a book, take a book.
Oh, beautiful! I love that.
Yeah. So this is where I got Jill Edwards's Stepping into the Magic. So I love that very much. I would recommend How to Do the Work, the New York bestseller by Nicole LePera.
Okay.
It is a psychology book, but it is so spiritual as well. And she intertwines. She really makes clear how these things intertwine. So it's a wonderful healing book on different levels.
Beautiful.
I would, and again, I'm going to ruffle some feathers. I would not recommend Eckhart Tolle.
Okay.
Not at all. I absolutely don't agree with what he's writing.
Okay.
I would, and certainly not to women.
That makes sense. Yeah.
I would perhaps, from case to case, judge, okay, this is a guy, and I would recommend it to him. Okay. Because especially this transcending the ego stuff, it's helpful for mainly guys, for men. It's more helpful than for us women. For us women, we need to build up the ego.
Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, yeah.
We need to.
For so long. I mean, I was talking the other day about how, even as a child, I was kind of, I don't want to say groomed, but, it was like, you're going to make a great wife, right? You need to go into nursing or teaching, right? Or you're going to take all these secretarial classes, you need to go take typing, you need to learn all these things. And that's kind of how I was raised, your chore, you're going to, clean the coffee table and do the dishes. So we have that over us, and you're going to go to school, get married, have your family, the husband's the head of the household, right?
Yeah. And then when you begin your spiritual journey and you're taught, okay, you need to transcend the ego. This is the golden rule in the spiritual industry. Then as a woman, you're like, okay, what do I do now?
Yeah.
Because I was just in doing the first steps and in discovering myself, and now I'm supposed to transcend that. That causes such a harmful rift between your emotions and your mental state and what you're feeling energetically, that's really harmful advice in my opinion.
Yeah. And then when you go to stand up for yourself, you almost have to blow up, right? To get people's
Yes. Yeah.
And then you be like, oh, she's crazy, but I've been saying this for how long? And you're yelling, and it's like, oh my goodness, like just trying to stand up for yourself, right?
Yeah, and you wouldn't need to do that if you could step into your stance gradually and with confidence and without this, well, all these different very dangerous advices we have out there.
Very good. Very good. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So what other services do you offer? Do you do classes, trainings, events?
Yeah, so I do. I've been doing some free master classes that everybody can see on cord cutting, because in my opinion, cord cutting is not what you've been taught out there. I do master classes on energy block clearing, on protection versus clearing. And I am, I had started my energy training, my energy perception training. I started in January, and on Saturday, we start the module about energy clearing blocks.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah.
Where can we find you? You online?
Yeah, I am online, but my website is only in German. I'm so sorry. So the easiest way to find me is on Instagram.
Yep, that's where I found you, and you have lots of
videos
on there, and you go into details, and I even asked a question and you answered right back. So if you're curious, right, reach out, and maybe you'll be able to answer live to get a little bit of explanation. And that's the thing here, be curious, right? She doesn't bite, she's so friendly and loving, right? And she'll explain it and make that judgment for yourself. So it's just so fascinating hearing, again, it's not a one size fits all. It may not work for you. It may give you those blocks, right? So we're unique in having our own different experience. All right. So we have you on Instagram. You have your German website. I'm going to have to get my German friend here whose name is
Yeah, and I have my services page, of course. And there's a free discovery call and no strings attached. If you want to talk to me, just have a chat, 20 minutes for free. You can do that as well. You can book that. So if you have any personal question that you would like to bounce back on me, that's a good way to do it.
All right, perfect. Well, that ends the first part of our journey. Now let's get into our second part for questions here. So the first one, you touched a little bit about it, but you know why you stopped using Reiki, and you talked about the blockages. And in one of the videos that you placed on Instagram, you saw them as a little design, a little node that you. So tell me a little bit about that so our listeners can understand.
Okay, so basically energy blocks are energy diversions of what we have in our aura. So the aura is fed by the cosmos energy and the earth energy. I know many of you already know this, but bear with me just to set the context here. And an energy block is basically when this energy is diverted to help us cope or handle a situation better. Because life is life. So things happen, and our aura, as this very intelligent system, will help us as humans to handle these situations better. So when I'm signing a contract, when I'm making a promise, when I'm getting attuned by somebody, it binds me to this other party. It lies in the nature of the thing. As you said, you decided this one lineage is more in resonance with you, so you want to do things as they say. So you feel like, okay, this is binding you to it. And in order for us not to, if we hadn't this energy diversion, if we weren't creating this energy block, we would constantly be physically, mentally, and emotionally concerned with that I am bound to this person. We wouldn't be able to handle life. Because when you're signing a contract to buy a house, you still have to do your groceries, you have to do your laundry, you still have your relationships, etc. You can't be all just, okay, I'm bound myself to the other person just to buy this house until the house is bought. So it's like a protective mechanism. And every energy block in the beginning is a protective mechanism from the aura. Only with time does it become an energy block when it's not resolved by itself. So, and these energy diversions oftentimes resemble 3D geometric forms and structures. So there are pyramids and circles and spheres and tetrahedrons and etc. And this energy block, we call it a nodal point. This one thing that binds us to the other party is like a 10-pointed star. It's like two pyramids that came together, because pyramids are hierarchical energy blocks that are built in every situation where there's a hierarchy. So if I'm employed in a corporation, I was for 15 years, I know how that works. I had a lot of pyramids in my system. So I had to clear those energy blocks. And then we have two systems that come together. And when they intertwine, this is what's created. So this is I tried to reproduce it visually to show you a 10-pointed star. But this is basically what this energy block looks like.
Okay. And you're able to see those in the client?
Yes.
So what happens, say, like I come to you and I'm like, hey, I would like to, work with you. And I am like, say, completely happy. Like I'm happy. I don't feel I have a block. I feel things are open, but you look at me and you're like, oh, Tracy, you've got like 5 different blocks going on, but I don't feel anything.
Well, I wouldn't do that to begin with. If you're all happy with your life.
Yes. Okay.
So first thing, what reason would I have to read your energy? Except you're giving me the mandate to do so.
If I gave you permission and I came in and
you give me permission and you give me the mandate, please read my energy. Okay. So I would read your energy, but what reason would I have to tell you, oh my God, you have these blocks in your aura?
Right.
If you're happy with everything.
Other than ego, right? Yeah.
So if you came to me and said, you know what, I'm totally happy, but have a look and tell me if you see anything. That would be a different thing.
Okay.
But if you say, okay, you know what, read my energy, I'm totally fine with everything. I have no reason to tell you. Does that make sense?
This makes sense. I'm just asking because someone may say, I'm genuinely happy. And like I said, we had 2 different experiences where you had the blockage and I felt it like just open things for me. I've interviewed people that their lives have been completely changed in a most extraordinary situations in Reiki that elevated them, and they never imagined that they would be teaching and writing a book and doing all these things. So it opened all these big doors for them. So I was just out of curiosity seeing,
So for me, it's not a contradiction. You can, it's not a contradiction at all, because you can be very happy with the house you're buying. And you can be very happy to make a promise to yourself or somebody else.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
But still it creates this energy block. So in my opinion, it's just about clearing the block. Like it's about clearing any energy block that we have. And then you can be even more happy about it, because then again, it's your free choice. Right. And Tracy, to be honest, I'm sure that you resolve those energy blocks in another way, because my modality is just one modality, right?
Oh yeah, and I like So that's where it's like, where does it land, right?
So these, I strongly believe that every energy into initiation creates that block, because I have never seen it not created.
I gotcha. Yeah.
But there's plenty of modalities or even circumstantial happenings that can clear that energy block.
Right. Very good. So you kind of answered number 2, but you frame it in a way they're not what they told you. So what are they telling us about energy blocks?
So what I was taught before I learned how to read the energy with my modality is there are implants. There are foreign alien things that somebody or something sets in your space. And from my experience and my work, it's just not that. It's our personal energy that we have that is just diverted. Like imagine a riverbed, and then you have a big boulder falling into this riverbed, and then the water tries to find another way. This is what's happening. So something is happening in our life. We have a situation that's difficult to cope with. Like I really like to give this example. There's one energy block we call a helplessness capsule, and it's created when we are in a situation where we feel obviously helpless, like something from the exterior is influencing in a way that we feel we have no agency. So imagine your little child in kindergarten, and you just spill the milk at lunch, and then the adult is towering over you and is yelling at you because you spilled the milk. So you feel helpless in that moment. So your aura will help you by creating a bubble around you, like really a sphere, a capsule, to help you keep your own energy to yourself and not let what is coming from the outside, so this yelling adult, bother you anymore. So it's really protective. Only with time, because Tracy, imagine we're going to have a coffee and you're spilling milk.
Yes.
So how would you feel about that? Even if I have my Virgo-esque judgmental look, you wouldn't bother, right? Because who am I to judge you? So you would have outgrown mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, you would have outgrown this little child you were in kindergarten. You wouldn't need that protective bubble today.
Very good.
But if it hasn't resolved from back then, it would be a block now.
Very good. Okay. And that's what you would learn if someone took your energy perception program, correct?
Exactly.
Very good.
So I will be teaching all the 23 plus. I'm always saying plus because I know of 23.
Okay. And there's more.
Doesn't mean that there aren't any more, or that maybe as humanity we are evolving. So maybe we are creating new energy blocks in the future. So for the time being, I know of 23 different energy blocks, and I will be teaching all of them how to capture them and how to resolve them.
Wonderful. Now, do you need any other prerequisite to take your training? Do you need to have any experience, have some type of certification, say someone's brand new and like, this is so fascinating, I'm in, they're able to get in?
Absolutely.
All right. Beautiful.
Absolutely.
All right.
And it's not a certification, it's a training, because a certification would set a block as well.
Oh, okay. So
a certification would mean
that certificate. Okay.
Exactly. So I can acknowledge in any way you want me that you had that you attended my course, but it's not a certification. But because a certification is again like an initiation, I'm telling you this is the way it works,
right?
And what I'm doing in my course is I'm teaching you a way that basically three things. I'm teaching my students how I learned it. I'm teaching my students how I do it, which might not be exactly the same way. And I'm also telling them if any of my students discovered yet another way, I'm telling them that as well.
Okay, beautiful. Yeah.
Because we're evolving all together.
Yeah, very good. I like that.
Thank you.
Last one. What are your thoughts about raising your vibration? So I listened to your insight timer and I was right in. I was like fascinated. Again, I approach everyone as you are a teacher. I'm learning. So tell us about this.
Well, thank you for asking. It's dangerous advice, in my opinion.
Okay.
So different thoughts on that. So the first thing is, when we consider this advice, raise your vibration, as elevate your mood to feel better. It's dangerous advice because it's negating the importance of what we call bad emotions.
Okay.
And as a body therapist, I am convinced that all the 360 degree of human emotions are important for us to experience. Fear is important because fear is a protective mechanism. Anger is important because it gives us strength and helps us fight against injustices, for instance, right? So all these emotions, even if we feel like they're not nice to have, they're still important. And telling somebody, no, you need to raise your vibration is like telling somebody, don't be you. And this is another aspect of it. So I'm talking about these 18 plus dimensions in the aura.
Yes.
You all know about the chakras. You all have heard about the chakras. You're working with 7, right? Are you working with 7 chakras?
Yeah.
I'm working with 13 different chakras.
Yeah. And it depends on what type of system. So say like you're working with like a Maria Reiki, you're working with 15 and above. So it just depends on what particular, I mean, not original to Azui with the chakras, but many practitioners do use them as landmarks in the body.
Yeah. And from yoga, so chakras are well known, right? Even if you don't know each and every one, each and every one of those, but you know the chakras. And the frequencies are another dimensions of the aura. And the frequencies is what joins your soul essence. So this is the thing that your soul gives you for this lifetime with the vitality that you get from your parents. And in between you have your creativity, your intuition, your willpower, all the thoughts, the abstract thoughts, the day-to-day thoughts. You have your emotions, and especially you have the body. And these frequency bands, this dimension of the aura, is what makes you 100%. So telling somebody to raise their vibration is telling them change this frequency, because that's not you. But this is the most you that you can ever be. So I wouldn't say to you, you know what, don't be a redhead. It doesn't make any sense.
Right. If someone chose to say, like, I need to raise my vibration, is that okay versus someone telling someone?
Well, I would ask, why would you do that? Why would you feel like you need to?
Let's give an example, hypothetical situation. Say someone is born and, you know, we talk, say it's a woman, and they're putting society on them. They're in a household where they're oppressed, put down. Maybe let's throw in a toxic mother who's very judgmental. Maybe let's say even a narcissistic type of parent. Then they go out, marry, have these, you know, relationship with her under their thumb. And maybe it's just with how life has treated them that maybe they can't get to their authentic self, their true authentic nature, until they move forward and getting their vibration to originally what it should have been in the first place. Is that a possibility?
I know where you're coming from. Yeah.
Because you always hear, you know, let's get to your true authentic nature, find your true authentic nature. But maybe these things in life, they're throwing all the dirt, muck and mud on you. And you finally get to a point where you're like, enough, right? Awakening. I need to shake off and find my true self in the journey. In order to do that, whether it's taking these modalities, reading, doing all the things, you know, I find people when they get on this path, you know, they start with, you know, the self-help books, right? Then they take a yoga class, then they go and do this, and then they start coming to that, raise that vibration. But in essence, it really is their true authentic nature that was just kind of oppressed. Is that something similar?
And I know you're coming from where you're coming from, and I really love this example. So it's a brilliant question. And thank you for putting it out there. So from my point of view, I would say you need to clear the energy blocks that society put in your aura that is hindering you from being your authentic self, from feeling these frequencies that are yours, right? Telling this person you need to raise your vibration is judgmental.
Okay.
On you're not okay. You need to do something. You need to, and raising the vibration is so not tangible, right? So I love things to be efficient and very precise and very clear and tangible. So when I say, okay, you need to clear those hierarchical energy blocks, clear the pyramids in your system, because that's what came from society. That's something you can do yourself. But when I say raise your vibration, it's less, wow, you need to meditate. Yeah, but if you have children at home and all these thoughts that are going through your head, meditation might be difficult.
Right.
And
Right.
also, I find the thing is, we are using confusing terms.
Mm-hmm.
When we say vibration is the physical movement. It's the oscillation. So when you say raise your vibration, what exactly do you mean? Am I supposed to oscillate that way?
Right.
When I'm actually oscillating that way?
Yes.
Because the frequency, when we're talking in physics terms, it's how often does the oscillation happen.
Mm-hmm.
But what is a higher vibration in that sense? That's very confusing, right? So how do people understand that? And also, have you ever been in a concert and stood next to the speaker when the bass was going through your body? That's not a bad feeling, is it?
No.
But it's a very low frequency. It's a very low vibration.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a wonderful feeling. Or having a sound bath with a big gong. If you have ever experienced that, I love that so much. And I'm believing that this, it was Dr. David Hawkins created this map of consciousness,
Mm-hmm.
Associating lower emotions
Yes.
to lower frequency colors,
Mm-hmm.
and hence to lower frequency hertz numbers.
Yes. Yeah.
So he tried to take something from physics and apply it to something energetic. And in my opinion, it doesn't make any sense, because when you feel, you can measure frequencies in your brain patterns when you feel certain emotions. But it's always brain patterns. It's not just one frequency. And you could be very fearful and have almost the same brain pattern as when you're in love.
Yes.
So we all would say being in love is a wonderful state. We all want to have that all the time.
Right, versus hate. Yeah, which is at the
Exactly.
bottom.
But we wouldn't survive that for good reasons. And well, I believe this map of having this body and then the color of the rainbow, starting from the red at the feet. Why are the feet red? I don't know. Why are the feet associated with anger? There's no reason for that. Sure. And then it goes up to the 700 hertz and the spiritual violet blue color. I believe that this is as much to be debunked as the tongue map. You know, the map of the tongue, where somebody back then decided that different tastes,
yes,
what was you only taste the sour on the tip of your tongue, etc. This has been debunked. This doesn't, it's not true. You can feel any taste everywhere on the tongue. So I strongly believe that you can feel every feeling and have different brain patterns and have still your own frequency. So circling back to your question, I would give such a person very tangible advice, very tangible tools on what to do.
Very good.
And what I see in preparation for answering your question, I just Googled again what out there on the internet, raise your vibration, and it's all very generic advice.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, yeah.
And in my opinion, especially the example you gave from this lovely woman, that wouldn't help her at all. Because that would be more judgmental and more, you need to do another. You need to do this. She had so much off already.
Sure.
I would rather take her by the hand and help her understand what's going on and help her clear her own energy blocks so that she can access this authentic self.
All right, very good. Well, that was our last question. And so as we've been talking, is there anything you might have forgotten about or something you want to share with the listeners? The floor is yours.
Well, thank you very much for the floor. I believe I talked about a lot of things.
Yeah, absolutely. This has given everybody a little bit of flavor here. Wonderful.
Yeah, I think so. So if anybody wants to contact me and bounce back some ideas or some questions with no strings attached, discovery call, feel free to book that. Yes, I'm in Germany, so we might have a little bit of time gap. So it's 8:30 where I am right now. Tracy, it's midday, right?
Yep.
But I do have appointments later in my evening, so that people in the US and early in the morning for the people in Australia can join. So don't hesitate, just contact me. I always say, you know where I live in the internet, so just contact me. I'd be happy to help.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for taking this journey with me. It has been a pleasure. Thank you for your wisdom and your insight. And hopefully this will, show a different side here, looking through a different lens, can show you a whole different view. So thank you so much.
My pleasure entirely. Thank you for your openness.
Thank you. All right, my wonderful listeners, if you want your question featured on the podcast, reach out to www.ReadySetReiki.com. I'm Tracy C. Wright, and this has been Ready, Set, Reiki.